without the power of God behind everything I do, I really am completely inadequate.
I'm helping the culture. These guys are part of us as well. You know, these guys are our cousin. I'm helping the culture. I'm pushing the culture forward in another way.
Hey, black child, be what you can be, learn what you must learn, do what you can do, and tomorrow.
What do you do after you read? What do you do after you know all, right? And you can say that you're truly conscious. How are you putting what you know into action?
This is the Initiative radio show, shifting the paradigm through conversation on any and everything relating to our communities and culture. Now introducing your new girl, Jasmine Renee.
Get in on that. And I think y'all couldn't even hear me. So let's run that back, because I think the mics are off. Okay. Well, yeah, it's your new girl. Y'all know it's always something. I can never get it right. But we're here with La and POOHLAH. And I was talking about community stuff. So La is performing today. Are you doing artwork?
And POOHLAH's doing artwork.
You're doing artwork
too.
at Talk That Shit with Astrid. And then I was speaking about the Hub Radio. And the Hub Radio is... We did do the relationship, love, and religion conversation. And then last night we also did the paint and sip. So that was something that was super dope. We had 3 sessions, and they were all packed. We had vendors there. It was super cool. And then it's some more stuff that is happening, I think. That is happening this week. So we'll try to get it on the Instagram story, just the flyers up and going. But I know the one that S Street put out is definitely... it just looks like it's some heavy hitters that are coming through.
It seems like it's gonna be pretty popular.
Yeah, so that's something to go through. And then the good news, we're having it's like a private party. It's late though, but it's our anniversary kind of bash type of thing. So we're hitting that up. But yeah, and then we know Spoken Word Sundays. I think Kanai is featuring this week. So Kanai from Peace of Mind, the group that you guys know. I work with the collective that I work with. The one that brought us all together, he's performing, and I think he's featuring at Spoken Word Sunday. And shout out to Tree, she's pregnant now. So yeah, she posted a really dope piece and announced her pregnancy. So shout out to that. So much love will be shown to that new bundle of joy. But yeah, that's that. And then at Unplugged, I believe RJ the Poet will be featured at Unplugged this Tuesday. If it's not this Tuesday, it's sometime this week. But I don't know if it's a separate event or if it's their actual like weekly event or whatever. But that's pretty much it. Do y'all have anything else that's y'all hear about that's going on in the community that's going on, or
No.
That's it. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, I can't think of too many other things, but that's pretty much it. But yeah, so like I said, we have POOHLAH and LASPEAKSVOLUMES in the building. How are you guys? How's everything going?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, everything is everything.
Yeah.
I'm feeling good.
Yeah, that's good. And congratulations to you. You won third place for the contest with Dr.
Thank
Sebi.
you.
If you guys have not, I'm sure you have seen her piece because you've been posting it for a minute.
Yeah.
The post, yeah.
I had it done for over a month now.
Yeah, and I think I was still going when you had finished it. But she did a piece on Dr. Sebi. You want to talk a little bit about like what the piece was and stuff?
Absolutely. So the piece was in honor of Dr. Sebi, who is a holistic doctor who passed away 2 years ago. So they wanted to commemorate his passing with a mural composition. My submission was a woman that she was given a compound that he produced, and it was called Iron Plus. You know, it was a little boy who was given that compound to her. You know, I have a theme kind of with a couple of other pieces, making the woman's body the universe, you know, just to uplift her, put them in the jungle so that resonates with what he was always embodying, which is he took it back to the naked woman in the jungle and wanted to give her something. You know, he had to he made sure that we all knew that we come from that woman.
Right.
And she is the answer to a lot of our medical issues, you know what I'm saying? Because she didn't have any doctors. She didn't have anybody trying to, you know, take her body or anything like that. She was naked there, and she was living there, and she was powerful there. So that piece is dear to my heart. And, yeah, won third place. Like, it was a great experience.
And in my defense, or in Poolah's defense, she definitely should have won first.
Yeah.
Yes, because I was checking. I was telling her
man.
before we hopped on that, like, I was literally, like, checking the other people's posts and trying to see, like, what were the numbers and stuff.
Right.
And then when I saw that, I'm like, because I was expecting, like, okay, it's already in the bag.
Contest,
Yeah.
No, I was definitely on that same train as you, Jazz, because I was, you know, she had told me about it prior to, you know, the contest starting. And the contest was supposed to start the day of my birthday on August 27th.
Okay.
So she had this, like, revealing, you know, point before, you know, the contest started.
Right.
And, you know, God bless you, Pooh, you know, in your journey. And I feel like, you know, I definitely commend you for getting out there and putting your art out there. No bias, you know what I'm saying? Because art is art, and what you created was a beautiful thing.
Right.
And I definitely feel like you should have won. You know, because I was checking all the time. Like, she's about to get this.
Yeah, but I even was like, scroll, because it was a lot of pieces, and I scrolled all the way. I'm like, so where are the rules to the competition? I'm like, really, like, I need to know what the rules are.
Did y'all see the community come out?
The community
came out and pushed.
Yeah.
They came out and pushed.
It was a huge push.
Yeah.
It was a
They came
huge
out and
push.
pushed.
That was a win. Like, I feel like the people's champ. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah.
And they still gonna get the piece. They gonna buy the piece and they gonna post it in their office and everything like that. So that's a blessing. I almost sold it to somebody because I thought I had the mural thing in the bag, and if I would have won the mural, then I would have been able to keep my piece. But since they decided on somebody else to do the mural, then they gonna post the original piece in the office. So it would have been like a real issue, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm glad that things worked out how they did.
Right.
I still don't know like when they gonna call me. They said sometime this week to figure things out.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was a dope experience.
Yeah, I'm glad you were able to experience that. But and then with you, Law, was it it was before that summer you had did the Waiting to Exhale play. How was that? What was like the process of you going through that? Because I know just following like your posts and stuff, you were like, I mean, of course, extremely hands-on with everything. I know you was writing a lot. You handpicked a lot of people to, you know, be a part of that. So, like, what was just that whole process like for you?
Honestly, that process was one of the most trying times of my life. Like, I've never challenged myself so much creatively, you know, and to do a play without any, like, backing or, you know, any like handouts or just, you know, I completely like relied on myself to get everything done. And, you know, I felt like in my heart of hearts, I chose the right people to be in the play. you know, it was a process dealing with all those personalities, and it's just one me, you know what I'm saying? And I had to, you know, figure out how to make things work with the schedules and, you know, just trying to give the people what I thought they deserved. You know, when people hear me, they expect something. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And it's because of what I have produced thus far. So I didn't want to short anybody and give them anything less than what I felt like my community, you know, deserves. And that's just the truth. Right. and what I speak. And the woman's story, I didn't want the woman's story to be just the thing that I talked about in Waiting to Exhale, because people, you know, people who have seen it is just, you know, it's going to be the typical, like, woman getting done wrong and all of that. But I felt like I took a lot of different perspectives and brought them to light. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Those characters in Waiting to Exhale who weren't so, like, big in the movie, I made them big in the play. Okay. You know, and so it was my play, you know, it definitely had the structure of the movie, but I brought my own twist to it. So at the end of it all, I think that it came out beautifully. Yeah. You know, Pooh, she was a partner of mine in the play. She did all the original artwork for the book that we actually collabed on together. Yeah. And I think, you know, I have to thank her because she did put on a couple hats for me too, to get things together. And just everybody in the play, they did beautifully. You know, we worked for the most part. We worked together really well. You know, it was some days I had to go up in there and put on my werewolf suit because I was like, "Hey, y'all playing, bro?" Like, you know what I'm saying? So some people who shared that intimate space with me, they saw different sides of me. You know, that you probably aren't going to get typically. But, you know, I'm really serious about my work, and I'm sensitive about it. You know, when I'm telling these stories, they come from a heavy place. You know what I mean? So I don't take it lightly. So I made sure that the cast, I held them accountable. You know, so yeah, but overall it was a great experience. That's you know, cool. I wouldn't change it for anything, but I will say it was one of the most challenging experiences that I've ever had.
It was an excellent show.
Really?
It was an excellent show, seriously.
Are you planning on doing another one?
I was trying to see how to bring Waiting to Exhale back. You know, Waiting to Exhale being that it was my first one, It was kind of like a trial run, you know, to see what I could do. And next time I know how to execute things to have more shows, you know what I mean? And I feel like I am going to bring another play back. It just Waiting to Exhale will probably be later, you know, when I'm bringing back old shows and stuff like that, it'll be later. But I'm working on a new show now. Okay. And I had announced it probably like a month ago that I would be challenging myself again to make a play out of Lauryn Hill's The Miseducation.
Okay, I remember I did see that, yeah.
So that's what I'm on next. Okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, excited to see that. Make sure y'all keep up, and y'all can follow both of them at LASPEAKSVOLUMES on Instagram, and then at POOHLAH, POOLAH, and is it underscore?
It's POOHLAAH.
Okay, so Pooh, yeah, like Pooh, like Winnie the Pooh, and then LAH. And is it an underscore?
No, it's no underscore. It's 2 A's.
2 A's, okay. Yeah. So 2 O's and 2 A's, right? Yeah. Okay, yeah. So make sure y'all follow them and let them know. Yeah, just some basic conversation. Because even when what you mentioned about the Dr. Sebi piece, it just sounds like the story of like the black woman, kind of, when you talk about being able to heal and us being like the answer for things, and then La talking about how she didn't want it just to be like this narrative of the woman and their black woman being done wrong. Like, how is that returned, or how do they, you know, like internally deal with that? So like just y'all perception on being a black woman, the perception of like what black woman is to you, like maybe outside of yourself, but like what is that for you?
Well, being a black woman for me has been really about self-love and getting to that root point, because we have dealt with so much traumas, and we can't really rely on the outside sources too much to give us what we deserve. So it's been a lot of like just digging and like trying to get to what causes people to have these perceptions of us outside, and how to really just stop paying so much attention to it and get to like healing within. So it's been like that, and I've had to start with health and in general, and just change the lifestyle that I was living that way, and then change the mindset that I had as well to give myself the things I needed positively that wasn't out there before. And the way that it's like returned back to me has been beautiful too, because you know, when I do things like wear my hair natural or something like that, like I get that vibe, you know what I'm saying, that feeling that men had towards black women maybe back in the 60s when that fro was popping and we really had power. Like they fuck with it. Like, can I cuss?
Yeah.
They fuck with it. Like they be like, damn, like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's some shit that I rock with. And just knowing that they still felt that way, it's been a good experience. So it's changed a lot, you know, just from being a young teenager, being a black girl at school and shit like that. Like it's changed from being an adult and accepting like really like the divinity. It's been a great experience so far.
Because are both of y'all vegan?
Yes.
God bless y'all. I went vegetarian. It's been a year now. It was a year. So a year ago I did 4 months, but it was kind of like, it was a cleanse. So I did no alcohol, I did no sex, and I did no meat. For it's supposed to be a month, and I did it for about like 3 to 4 months, and it was just because like it was a lot of stuff. When you're constantly like on the move, your life is constantly and your actions become constantly on the move. When you start making decisions to be around people or to let people into your space without thinking, and you just doing it because you want something like for the moment. So I kind of had to like step back from everything, and it was just like, okay, I'm attracting some things that I don't want, regardless if it's a relationship, if it's maybe a bad night that I had because I was drinking too much, or if it is, feeling away after I ate something. It was just like I'm attracting things that I do not want. So I had to stop with the niggas that I was messing with. I had to stop, drinking and get it all together. And I'm it was definitely a trial because it was. So it was like October to like January. So that was just something that I had to do. And people were like, and if you run the shows back, like I was having very open conversations with it. Like even when people would come, I was just like, right now I'm not having sex. I'm not eating meat. I'm not drinking alcohol, and that's something that I think we have to understand. Like, and we have to understand that like our healing process starts from within. But like, that's a thing where it's like people, we always, because this is what happened. I got older, and then now it's like, grown-ups have casual sex or whatever. But I'm like, if you're going to be responsible about yourself, you also have to, you can do that, but you got to make sure whoever you are laying with, the energy transfer is a positive thing.
It's a serious thing.
You don't learn that before you start having sex, though.
You don't, because they're just telling you, like, with our young boys, is that you go ahead and you start. With the girls, it's kind of like, okay, maybe when you get in college, but it's like, you're not telling me the effects, the negative effects, the positive effects of this transfer
it's
that's
so surface level what it's talking about. You trying to just get a boyfriend and somebody you think that cares about you and loves you equal. Like, y'all both love each other, and y'all both decided that this was going to be what y'all wanted to do together. But, like, digging deep into it, like, that shit lasts a while, that effect that sexual encounter has with somebody, especially if they have a really bad energy and they've been doing something really crazy. I mean, even and to people, the level of STD, like that shit's real.
Don't take the fact that energy being transferable, that's a very serious thing.
Serious
you know
thing.
What I'm saying? Like, you carry that with you, you know what I'm saying? What that person is feeling, eating, whatever.
Eating,
you know
for
what I'm
sure.
Saying?
Eating
like,
for sure.
That can carry along a long ways, you know what I'm saying? So it's just about being intentional with what you want in your life.
And that was the word that I use so often, because, and I'm not saying like, I'm very realistic about a lot of stuff. And I'm like, I'm not saying you need to go and don't have sex until you find your husband. Okay. That's not what it is. I'm saying when you do choose to do things casually, you need to be in a space with people who are actually like-minded or where you're trying to be.
Exactly.
So even if it is, okay, I do have this man that I hit up occasionally that I'm sleeping with, but he ain't no dog-ass dude. Okay. He's still a good man. And I know we probably won't be in a relationship together, but at the end of the day, he's still a good person. He's still in alignment with what I am in terms of move. Because you can move in the same direction but not be made for each other, and that's completely fine.
That's fine.
Yeah, so I'm like, it's not a thing of, oh, you know, go find your husband before you lay down. Like, being raised in the church, yes, that's what they tell you, but then realistically, it's not.
What
people are not.
Yeah.
So I'm like, find something so that when you are doing what it is that you want to do, something that is not going to affect you negatively, affect your spirit negatively. And it's funny that you use intentional, because I promise y'all, if y'all run some of these episodes back, whether it was here at the Hub Radio, like, those were conversations, and the dudes was like, you are not having sex. And I'm like, yes, that's what I'm doing, because I was around stuff and attracting dudes that I didn't think were for me, and not even for me in terms of a relationship, but stuff I just didn't need to be around. Right. So I had to remove myself. And if we look at it, it's a year later, I'm in a relationship now. So I'm like, the work, it did what it needed to do. Okay. And now I reaped what I wanted. And even before that, when I did the fast of everything, when it came to dating and stuff, I was attracting men that were different from what I was attracting before I started the fast. And that was something where it was just like, okay, it did make a difference. It did. And
absolutely.
And I didn't find the man until maybe like some months later. Right. But it did happen. Right. Because I told myself, no, this is a standard that I'm going to upkeep, and I'm going to rinse my soul, rinse my spirit of all of these energies, did that, and then you continue to move on.
Yeah, I had to do that with my friends. And, you know, I had to do that with a lot of people I was just hanging out with. Right. Because that's a level of connection as well. And, you know, it's not sexual, but when you sitting and you having conversations with people all the time, and y'all constantly doing things together, like, y'all end up doing things like each other. And I had to realize that the people I was with, like, we weren't on the same level. Right. They wasn't no higher than me, and I wasn't no higher than them, but we was on different levels. And you know, I think when I started to take my health more seriously, it made me look at everything. Like, okay, if I can control that, and I can control my habits and eating, and I abstain from sex, and I abstained from alcohol and smoking weed for a year. And I was just like, you know, it made me look at the whole perspective, like, okay, I can pick anything. I can pick whatever I want. So let me find out what's best for me. Let me find out what's going to work. Like, let me find out who's doing what to make it how they want it to be. And then I can see it in people, and then I can go, you know, meet them, and I can be around them, and then that'll help me to be who I want to be.
I feel like, you know, like my womanhood means to me just like being unapologetic about our stories. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like, you know, we live in a world, especially right now, where the young black male story is uplifted so much to where it's like right now they're the only ones like going through, you know, things. They're the only like targets, where our stories that are very aligned are the women's stories, black women's stories that are very aligned. They're being diluted. You know what I'm saying? As if, you know, where the pain and the strife that we're going through does not matter. We have to own our stories and be able to say, like, hey, like, we're at a point in our communities where we need healing too. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I've taken charge of my healing, you know, and I've also taken charge of making sure that people are accountable, you know, and it's like, we all have to get to that place of owning where we're at, and like you being accountable and making sure that those around you will keep you accountable, and they will be accountable for themselves as well. You know what I'm saying? And the place that they're in your life. And I feel like, you know, being a woman to me, like, I won't sell my story short because it matters. You know what I'm saying? And you need to hear this because maybe I have something that will help you get to your point of healing as well. You know what I'm saying? And I just feel like that's the time that we're in right now. Everything is it's such a sensitive like time. You know what I'm saying? Like it is a time to uplift your men. It is a time to uplift your woman, but at the same time, don't forget to like be about yourself, you know. And then it's just that self-love is just so important. Like now I'm like just like I don't care, bro. I'm gonna love myself under any circumstance. You know what I'm saying? I've been in a relationship for the last year and a half. You know what I'm saying? The relationship was stagnant. It was very stagnant. And it's like I had to look at myself and be like, hey, where do you want to go, La? Like, because you not getting there being here. Right. You feel me? Yeah. Like where do you want to go? Why aren't his visions, you know, aligned with yours? Why isn't he pushing you to that next level? And my thing was, once it got to a point of too much contentment, too much complacency, I'm like, I can't be here because I'm not even doing what's best for me. Right. So if loving myself means releasing myself from this, you know, hey, I'm sorry that we're not aligned right now, but this is not for me. Right. You feel me? And I don't want no bad blood, no nothing like that. But when somebody doesn't think on, I'm not shitting on this nigga either, like, because no, I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's just being honest. Like, when somebody doesn't have the same mental capacity, and that is all that your environment like consists of, that shit starts to linger. Right. You know what I'm saying? So it's like if you're cool with mediocrity or whatever, hey, like that's not me. You feel me? But being with you all the time, I'm starting to conform to what you do. That. Right. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, nah, like I have to be my best self at all times. And if you're not promoting my best self and helping me get beyond that point that I'm at, then hey, maybe this needs to be, you know, it's a wrap. Right. Because to me, my love for me is more important than anything. Right. And being a woman, I feel like, don't be ashamed to put yourself first. Right. You know, like we need that. And not only that, it's okay to put, you know, to share that with other women. Tell, hey, like, it's okay, baby. Like, lift yourself up and let all that other shit go. Right. You know what I'm saying? It's like we can be women without the attachments of, you know, like what men like label us. You know what I'm saying? We don't need that extra validation. We don't. We really don't, because we're powerful on our own, and that's what we need to start owning. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So. Yeah. And definitely needing to like pass that on. And one of y'all was saying something, but so I took my 2-month trip and left LA basically. And like now that I'm back, I just start to kind of realize, not even realize, but it's just a lot of like clear feelings and emotions that I can see. So whether it's energies that people are providing, and if the energy is negative, it's something that I just pick up on, and I'm just like, yo, what's really going on here? So like, you know, taking some things out of your life, or taking yourself out of environments, or like you guys said, the absence of, whether it's sex, whether it's the meat, whether it's all things that are, you know, that you can't eat when you're vegan, whether it's your diet, like taking those things out, kind of clears your mind of things. Does. Yeah, because even this past week, I was somewhere, and I just felt, like, physically, I'm just like, yo, like, what is it? And I kept, like, verbalizing it, like, I know it's hot in here, but, like, I'm not feeling, like, cool in here. And I'm like, it wasn't anything like, oh, you need to get up and leave, but it was just like, I'm sitting here, and I do not feel cool. Like, I just don't feel it. And it was a lot of people that I didn't know, some that I did. And when I went home, I was fine. And I lived 5 minutes from the place. So I'm like,
I don't know, to me, it was just like, and I said it to the person that I knew. I'm just like, yo, I went to Asia for 3 weeks. I came back and my spirit is cleansed. Like, and I'm around stuff, and I'm like, if you off, I guess my body is just alerting me. Right. Yeah, like, yo, what's going on? So that was something for me that I'm now, even this past week, realizing that when you remove certain things, and then even removing myself from an environment and then coming back into the environment, it kind of lets you see things. Oh, yeah. And even though you guys are not probably going back to eating meat, but you're in the process of, like, the lens being cleared, like a spiritual lens being cleared. Yes, and it's like you kind of have to remove yourself. And I went out there, and I don't know if y'all saw my post, but it was when I first went, so I booked my ticket probably like the beginning of June. I left at the end of June knowing I'll be gone for 2 months. And it was kind of a thing where I thought it was like a selfish decision. And I'm just like, yo, you're a part of the community. There's a lot of things that you have going on. Last summer, you was heavy in the Boys and Girls Clubs. There were kids that you were touching, this, is, that, and the other. You were putting on events or whatever, and you just gonna dip for the whole summer. Right. And I was just like, I felt bad about it.
I was glad you did that.
And it was just like, you, at some point in time, if I'm not good, I can't go. I can't go and be good for somebody else. Mm-hmm. I can't go and teach these kids. I can't go and coach. I can't go and be an example to them. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I kind of had to take that because, first of all, I turned 23 in the summer, but being 22, working with kids that have extremely horrible attitudes and parents that are constantly like on attack. It's like being 22. I ain't even been like an adult long enough to know how to deal with you. Right. And it's like you kind of have to, you learn like literally on the fly. A parent want to come up and it's like, okay, usually when I'm not in professional mode, I know how to respond, but I need to keep the trust of your child, so I can't go off on you. So you learn right then and there what to say. And I'm like, that was tough. It was really tough to learn that. So when you go through you do 2 years, and I started at 21, you do 2 years doing this and learning on the fly and stuff. It's just like, yo, you need a break.
Yeah, absolutely.
You need to at least be and live freely at some point in time. So I had to go out there, and it was like, it wasn't an easy thing. Like, people was like, oh, you was on vacation. I'm like, if you're aware of self, it's not going to be an easy thing, because when you take yourself out of what you're familiar with, you start to see more things of what you are and what you produce.
And that's what growth stems from. You know what I'm saying? Just my journey alone with being vegan, I knew, like, first of all, my family has a down south, background. Right. They don't know nothing else but meat. Right. And sugar. And dessert. You feel me? Yeah. So it's and just biscuits. So and when I told my grandmother, like, hey, like, I'm being vegan, like, she looked at me like I was crazy. She was like, what good is all them greens gonna do and all of that for you? Right. You know what I'm saying? And I got to the point where, hey, this is the transformation that I need to make in order to get different results. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't know that over the span of like the last 5 or 6 years, I've been pregnant 5 times. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I've not ever once gone to terminate my pregnancies. My body has not been able to sustain a pregnancy. Wow. I've gone through, I've been pregnant. Last year I was pregnant, and I went off the scene for a while because I was told that I had to be on immediate bed rest, and this was shortly right after I released my book. Okay. And, I had sustained a pregnancy for about 3 months, past my first trimester, and I had went to go get a first trimester checkup and not even knowing that my baby was already dead inside of me, and I had to go through a surgical procedure to get it taken out. Oh, that was the most humiliating feeling of my life, let alone not even adding to the fact that it was painful. Right. You know what I'm saying? So and not just mentally painful, you know what I'm saying, physically. Right. My body had to go through some stuff to like recover itself. Right. And and people, they turn around and tell me like, oh, you done got thick. You done did this. You not even knowing, like, all of those things have attached me to this this bad moment in my life. You know what I'm saying? But over the last 5 years, I've had trouble with conceiving. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know what God was trying to tell me, like, hey, maybe these ain't because I ain't with none of the niggas. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And don't get me wrong. You know, I don't promote. You know, I'm not just out here promoting like you sleeping around, like, and, you know, doing all of that kind of stuff. Right. But my thing was I chose to be vegan because I'm like, hey, I want a different result. And when it is time for that, you know what I'm saying? Because of my faith in God, I don't believe that there's a thing wrong with me. Right. You know what I'm saying? But I'm going to do what is in my control and what is in my power. And, hey, I can shift my diet. Right. You know what I'm saying? And I can be healthy. So I'm like, why not? What do I have to lose? You know what I'm saying? But in that transition, though, it's opened me up to so many other things. Right. Like like you said, you take yourself out of an environment. Being vegan has made me tap in spiritually. You know what I'm saying? It's made me tap into who I have around me. With the quickness, I could read you. You know what I'm saying? If I'm fucking with you or not. Right. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it gave me so much clarity. Yeah. Now I can think, you know what I'm saying? My mind is open to things that it wasn't open to before. Right. You know, I had just started my vegan journey before, you know, the play. Before then, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do a play one day. You know what I'm saying? Right. And like, It totally shifted. I woke up one day and I was like, I'm going to just do it. And I'm going to put it out into the universe and they going to make me do it. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, you want different things in your life. Yes, nothing is meant to be easy. Right. It's never meant to be easy. And I feel like in order to get to that point of growth, you have to be willing to make those transitions, because people are like, whenever you're ready, like I don't ever know when I'm ready. Right. You know what I'm saying? You just have to be willing to do it. And that's what I've learned through this journey. And like you said, the clarity, it's just been so eye-opening. I have so much insight. I've learned so many new things, you know, and I'm just ready to elevate. Right. You know, so it's been beautiful. Right. You know, but yeah. And
it's a necessary thing, I think definitely as Black women to remove ourselves from certain things, from what's normal, because our normal is not always positive.
Our normal is not our natural. Right. You know what I'm saying? Our normal is really not our natural. We going with the Joneses because of our environment. Yeah. But our natural, you know, is on a different level. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Just think back to the first woman that was probably put here on this earth. She wasn't walking around on concrete. She had her feet in bare grass. You know what I'm saying? She was connected to the sun and the moon and the stars and everything that was around her. So that is our natural. Right. And we have to tap into that more and more and more. And that means removing things that are in the normal, because you can't just add on. You have to remove things, and then you can implement more positive things into your life. It's really important, and I see it so heavily. Like, I see it heavily in POOHLAH, I see it in you, Jazz, and I see the work that y'all doing, and it's amazing, and it pushes me. Like, we push each other without even really knowing.
Right. I think once you get to that place of understanding that healing is necessary, you know what I'm saying? Because when you don't know that, that's what keeps you stuck. Yeah. You feel what I'm saying?
Y'all came to that point where you realize that it's forever though? Like, that healing, the self-love, like, it's a forever thing.
It is a forever thing. Yeah. It's like it's always down the line, you know what I'm saying? They say, God gives his strongest soldiers the toughest battles. You feel what I'm saying? So there's never going to be anything that you're not going to be going through.
Man, for real.
You know what I'm saying? And you just got to make it look good.
Got to. What I'm saying? Do that.
Like,
we do that.
We're
going to do that.
You just got to make it look good.
Right.
There's nothing that we're not going to go through. But healing is so necessary.
Oh, my goodness. Man, on every level.
Even in the time that I'm in now, you know, Pooh has been close to me. She was the week after the couple weeks before Waiting to Exhale went out, my baby cousin got murdered. Right. You know what I'm saying? And like, we know who killed him. You know, he's in jail and all of this kind of
MJ in the building.
What's up? All of these things, and you know, someone had asked me like, how do you forgive? You know what I'm saying? How do you forgive the person who has hurt you the most right now? And I'm like, my healing is so important to me because I gotta do work, and not just this work as far as what I do in the poetry realm. I am with kids 24/7. Yeah. I'm not about to poison these kids and dilute them with my problems. Right. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is, healing is always going to be a forever thing.
Forever,
you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
We constantly going through stuff. There's absolutely nothing new under the sun that we can, you know, share that somebody else probably isn't going through or going through even worse than you. And I just feel like we have to get to that point to know, like, yeah, we have to be aware of our healing and what the steps that we have to take. You know what I'm saying? And it's so necessary.
Yeah, the more healing I feel like I'm able to do for myself, like I'm always gonna get something that it seems bigger than what I've accomplished so far.
And
like,
I think
it's just crazy. I just feel like that I'm appreciative of that too, because I'm able to grow, and I know the process at this point. You know, the process is something gonna happen, but I'm gonna have to dig, and I love to dig. I love that shit for sure.
And I think for me, because I even posted when I was gone, I was just like, you know, being out there, you realize, like, I think I put happiness or self-love as a journey. And I'm like, once you realize, and like you said, it's forever. Once you realize those things that we strive so much for, there's no end goal. That the self-love, when you are, you know, operating in self-care, or when you're trying to heal, when you're trying to reach peace, that you might reach peace in a certain moment, but your life isn't peaceful as a whole. Like, you have to keep going. And then, but it makes it worth going after. Like, if you're, you know, because we have those moments or events or something, or those times in our life that we're just like, oh my God, I really enjoyed this. But imagine being on this journey of self-love and just being on it for a long time. And yes, you fall short. So like, even with me, it's just like, okay, throughout the day, yes, like I said, I work with kids with special education, special needs. And that's tough. You dealing with kids that are nonverbal, that are 6 and 7. They're autistic. They can't, you know, they understand differently. And I'm like, I thought working with these crazy kids, with these crazy parents was tough. But I'm like, I could communicate with them and they could communicate with me. If I wanted to go off on them, I could. And I'm like, now I have to really put myself to the back and lower myself to go, okay, I know you can't speak, but we're about to help you feel better. Like, I know, and I'm like, without even being able to be, you know, notified of what you need, but having to really like just put yourself down. And I think really understanding that it's a journey has made me like, I'm able to receive from them more. And I think when you kind of deal with yourself, you can receive the most positive things. Because with the kids, and I'm sure we all can attest to, there's certain kids or certain things that we're a part of that kind of pour into us in ways that kind of nothing else does. And I'm like, I work with kids. You think with kids with special needs, you're probably like, oh, you know, I don't want to deal with that. They pour into me in ways that I don't think I've ever even been poured into before. I'm like, if it's my hair, if it's them just coming, like, on my Instagram story, it was when he just came and, like, grabbed my arm and wrapped my arm around him. And I'm like, people don't do that. My kids do that, though. And to me, it's just, I'm receiving his love. So I'm like, but going through that, and even for me, before I left, because I applied to a job way before I had went, it was a very long process, and I found out that I got hired before I left. So I was contemplating on going back to working with general ed or working with special needs. And I'm like, yo, I cannot work with special needs. Like, I cannot. But going through that process of taking myself out of what I was used to and stretching myself when I was gone, it was just like, all right, like, I'm going to go and do that. And now I'm not just in it serving, but I'm in it and receiving things. So I think when you kind of clear yourself and you put yourself in places, like we said, we did do the cleanse, take all that negative away, you start putting yourself around things that are able to benefit you more than what you were being benefited before. So I think that's a necessary thing that we have to be aware of. Like, are we in environments or situations that are able to pour back into us? Even though I'm doing my work, but I do need to be poured back into. Because you say you with kids 24/7. If I'm with kids 24/7, they can't possibly pour back into me effectively. They can show me love, but sometimes I need to be worked on.
Right.
So it's like we have to, understand. And even when you're not with the kids, who am I hanging around? So that when I go with the kids in the morning, am I edified, or am I still carrying that negative baggage from sleeping with whoever the night before?
Added to that, you know what I'm saying? Right.
What's up, MJ?
So first of all,
hold on.
I'm having hair jealousy goals over here between you two. I'm looking at Ari, and Ari is just she's flourishing with her hair.
Thank you.
And I'm looking at you going through your journey, and I'm just like hair is in the building. Okay, like, oh my gosh, you guys look so beautiful. I'm so proud of you guys, because I know that process is like, woo.
Right.
You talking about self-love.
Right.
And you too, La, because I know, without when you take the braids out, it's kind of like, it's a breather. You know what I'm saying? Like, really just peeling back layers. Oh my gosh, you guys said so many gems that are just like resonating with me. The first thing that you just said was being in an environment that pours back into you. Me and La have had these conversations recently with both of us just turning 29 this year. It was almost, I don't know if it was like a chemical balance change or something, but it was just like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to deal with this person anymore. I don't want to be in an environment that doesn't, that really doesn't pour into me. Like, you're realizing that time is the only luxury we have. Okay. Time is the only luxury that we have, and it's the one that we use the most and take for granted the most. Yeah. Love we put to the side. We be like, that nigga ain't shit. I'm never falling in love again. But then we'll still spend time with that same person that we hate.
Right.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that too.
I just don't want to do anything that is not serving me, and I'm realizing that in this. Because you guys know I'm a huge advocate for self-care.
Yes, indeed.
But I'm realizing in that process that self-care doesn't need to necessarily be the things that that we often look to, like meditation or taking a bubble bath. Like, it's like, I need to go to therapy. You know what I'm saying? And then when you go to therapy, they put you in uncomfortable situations. And they're like, they make you talk about things that you don't want to talk about. And I'm like, damn, that one thing does affect me in this way, and that thing affects me in this way. And as you're elevating, the devil will attack you even more.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's what I'm realizing, because I'm like, damn, why am I feeling this way? Why am I feeling heavy? Why am I not feeling like myself? And I'm realizing, like, it's because I'm doing the work.
Oh yeah, you pushed it.
I'm doing the work. I'm pushing myself.
Really
exactly.
Put on words.
Putting myself in uncomfortable situations where now that I feel like the devil is trying to make me backpedal on what I originally wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's very much true that as you elevate, you give the devil, like, context where to attack you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So,
especially if you're idle, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Especially if you're idle and not doing anything, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, we've all had those times. I call you when I have those times, you know what I'm saying? When where I'm like, bro, I'm trickling, you know, back into old behaviors. You know what I'm saying? Where I already said, hey, this is not good for me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, why am I attached to you? And it's so important, like I said, to have people who are accountable, because I call somebody like MJ and she gonna be like, why are you doing that?
Right.
Like, she's gonna make me cognitively like think about my own process of thought. Like, what's up with you?
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Okay, so you did this, so what were you looking for when you did that? You know what I'm saying? And it'd be like, damn, nigga, like I don't know what I was looking for, you know what I'm saying? Let me go back and check myself real quick, you know, and I shouldn't have even been there.
Right.
You know, we all have, when you're idle and having those times of doubt, yes, that's more than enough room for the devil to come and play with you. Right. You know, especially when you're doing nothing but building, you know, and this is the time of building for a lot of us. You know what I'm saying? And we're reconstructing. And, and of course, the devil is not gonna. What you reconstructing for?
Right,
you know what I'm saying? Let me knock down the wall real quick.
Right. So many people will definitely try to come in, and whether it's like on the back end, whether it's on the front end, whether they come into your face, like you. And it's not even. I don't even want to put it on people, but it's so many different energies that will come in and try to get you off track. And so many times, I'm sure, you know, as creatives, where we go through things, or we're trying to create things, or we're in our journals and we're trying to figure out what's the next move, and you like, nah, like I'm not about to do that because I don't think it's going to be received well. And that's not even a person coming to you, that's you in your own head. So like different things will come up where it's just like trying to get you off track. Like, let me just consistently do what I'm supposed to be doing. And it's like, if you decide to switch something up, or if you decide to give somebody something new, like, if it don't work, it don't work. But at least do it. At least you did it.
You're not gonna know.
Yeah, you have to do it.
You won't know until you try.
Right.
Like, that's it. Like I tell people, you know what I'm saying? You can't be afraid to take those risks. People have been taking risks, and look, some have made like jump shots, half court. You feel what I'm saying? And it's like, and it's worked for them. Right. So it's like, what you scared of? You know what I'm saying? You can only go up from here, if you, especially if you've already experienced the worst part of the shit. You know,
as you get like more comfortable with doing creative things or things that are, you know, kind of outside of your element. Right. I realize that it's a place where more self-doubt comes in, because as you're getting higher, you're like, whoa, am I supposed to be in this position? Right. Am I supposed to do this? Everybody's doing this. Maybe I'm not supposed to be doing this too. Or it's oversaturated, or this, that, and the third. Really talking yourself out of opportunities. And my motto this year has just been, I'm going to bet on myself. Like, I'm really just going to gamble on myself. And that can mean so many things in any context. Like, really just taking the risk of saying, I've been thinking about this one thing that I want to pursue. Let me just go for it. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, really, let me just go for it. But again, like, back to the self-care thing, the best thing that you can do for yourself, sometimes you just got to put yourself right in front of the mirror and say, like, can I cuss? Yeah. Okay. Like, bitch, what are you doing? Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes you really just got to, and London be calling me Issa Rae because I really be talking to myself in the mirror, but sometimes you really just have to, like, get yourself together. The best thing you can ever do is really just be honest in your soul and just put yourself in front of a mirror and just be like, you know, this person is not serving you. Right. Try something different. We often run back to the familiar. Right. And then that's when we don't grow, and we're looking around, and then a year goes by and we're like, I need something new. I want to do something different. It's because we've been doing the same shit. Right. That's what I do. I put myself in front of the mirror and I'm just like, you know, I just start rapping to myself, just like going in and just figuring out, where's my head at? You know, why am I doing this? How do I feel? Sometimes when you talk things aloud, you start. It's a different feeling. Yeah, like we know our truths, and this is something when I started the show, I often said, like, yo, talk to yourself. Like, we understand how to fall in love or become acquainted with somebody that's outside from us, but we
refuse to do that same work with ourselves. So we refuse to even find out what you're looking for in everybody else. We refuse to find that in ourselves or to see if it's even in ourselves. So I'm like, yo, you have to talk to yourselves. And we consciously know our truths, but we don't consciously, because when you vocalize it, when you verbalize it, it's a different resignation that you get.
Absolutely.
It resonates a lot differently when you hear the vibration of your voice saying, yes, I have an issue with this. I can't stay away from this nigga, and I know I shouldn't be with him. When you say that, it's like, damn, like, let me try and figure something out. And imagine you saying that every day. It just naturally starts happening where you just don't want to be in, if it's a man, if it's a friend, if it's parents, if it's family, you just like, okay, I need to lay down some things when it comes to this. I need to put some guidelines down, especially when it's family. Okay, there's guidelines. I can't be around you like this, that, and the other, because it's not serving my spirit correctly. Right. And I posted something maybe like 2 weeks ago, and it was just like, we have a right to address people. And there's a lot of times we stay connected to people because of the seniority of our relationship, because we grew up together, lest we still have to stay friends, or I still owe you my friendship. But if it's like, if my spirit is not engaged when I come into contact with you, if my life is not being enhanced when we come into contact, I can no longer spend this time with you. Right. And we have a right to, but we get upset when people unfollow us on Instagram. We get upset when people, you're not liking my pictures.
Really petty. I'm petty.
petty.
If you know, because I mentioned the whole Bill Cosby thing a couple of days ago, and my DMs was like,
it went crazy, huh?
Yeah, and I'm like, why are y'all acting like I haven't been speaking about women's empowerment? Right. Like, I haven't been on stages telling y'all, you know, my personal truth. Like, why are y'all acting new to this? Like, I'm more than what you see on Instagram. So, one of the things there is setting your own personal boundaries. And that's something that I've had to instill in myself, is not just when you have personal boundaries that you set with yourself, the boundaries that come with others are a lot easier. Right. Because you're like, that's not really the space I want to be in. And if you're not really fucking with a situation, just don't fuck with it. If you're not really fucking with somebody, don't fuck with them.
Right.
You know what I mean? And when it's like when the whole social media thing comes, you unfollow me, or, you know, there was a few people who had some very ignorant opinions about the Bill Cosby thing, and I said, I'm not even going to make it a thing. I'm going to just unfollow. I'm not going to announce it. I'm not going to tell you why. Like, you've shown me who you are on a topic that is very serious, and it's not coming from a place of intelligence. They're coming from a place of ego, and they're coming from a place of just ignorance. So I'm going to just unfollow you, because in real life, we probably don't even fuck with each other. Right.
I mean, you know what I mean? Need to have respect. Like, if you want to unfollow somebody, you don't want to see them on your news feed when you open up your app. Like, just respect that on your phone. Like, just respect it. Like, if you see me in the streets, like, it's not gonna be no, you want like unfollow vibe. Like, we in person now. Like, you're gonna be able to see me in my natural element. So it's no bad blood. Like, if I don't want to see you, then I just don't. Like, it ain't no shade to you. It's something going on with me that I need to do. Have some respect for people's personal space, because that is very personal. You know, I often have times when I go to sleep and I looked on Instagram right before, and something happens in my dream that relates to a person that I was looking at Instagram on, and they not even in my personal space, but here you are in my subconscious. Like, you don't deserve to be there. So that's it. Like, get out of here. Like, have some respect for that shit.
Had and just even like with people in the community, it's just to a point now where I'm like, you get into something, and then you start seeing things, and you come in, because I came in and met both of y'all the same at Keith's birthday party. I think I saw you perform, but I think I came maybe after, and that was like over a year ago. So I'm coming in, you know, like thinking, okay, cool, and then I think all of y'all were at the first event. You know, cool, all right, cool, I'm welcoming towards everybody. And then I'm young, so I'm like, all right, this is what it is. But then you start to see things. So over the, past year and a half, I've just seen a lot of things. A lot of people that I was open to at first, it was just like, no. A lot of niggas, it was just like, yeah, I can't come and show my support in a way because you feel like it's something else. And I'm like, no, I'm just a supportive ass person. Like, that's all it is. So a lot of stuff had to get pulled back. A lot of stuff had to be, like, realigned. And I did have to go and unfollow. But why are you hitting me talking about, oh, so you unfollowing now? And I'm like, my nigga, I just don't need you, whether it's a nigga or a female. I just don't need you, like you said, in spaces where I need to keep things separate.
Yeah,
and whether
people take this social media
like,
thing.
They
go
do.
to. I'm literally about to get 100 people that I follow. Like, period. Like, I'm over it. I don't want to see people that I just ran into anymore. It's so natural to be like, oh, just follow me back on Instagram. Like, your life is a lot. I'm not ready for your whole life. Like, we just met in 5 minutes.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And we on social media so heavy. I'm on social media so heavily. Yeah. I needed to be scaled all the way back. And people just, like, stop taking it personal. Like, delete your cute little app, like, that shows who unfollows you if it's going to be something that you feel sensitive about.
Right. Yeah, I had somebody, I had a guy that I unfollowed because I didn't care. Number one, it was something about this nigga's face and mouth that really just bothered me.
But that's a real thing.
No,
because that's a real thing. That's a real thing.
It wasn't that bro was ugly, but he was just extra'd out.
That's a real thing.
And look,
please talk about it.
So I unfollowed him or whatever, and then on top of that, like the stuff that he was often talking about, I just didn't particularly care to see all the time. I felt like he was a over sexual person and just very flamboyant with it, and I'm just like, I don't know what type of attention you're trying to seek. So I unfollowed him, and then he immediately hit me up, and I'm like, number one, how did this nigga know I unfollowed him? And then that's when someone told me about the app. So he's like, what's up with the unfollow, this and that? I said,
nigga,
like, I got caught off guard because I didn't know you were gonna know that I followed you. I'm now shook.
Yeah, and I'm shook because I'm trying to be slick.
Right,
you know, like, you done caught me. You done caught me red-handed. I unfollowed you. You know, and then I really just kept it real with bro. I say, you know, I really don't care for your page. I support what you're doing because I see you're an artist, but I just feel like you're extra out. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But we have to have those honest conversations, and then at the same time, because I do know him personally, on the other side of things, we don't have to explain shit to anybody. Right. Period. You know what I'm saying? Like, how I felt about the Bill Cosby thing, like, that wasn't something I was going to talk about. There's so many issues in the world that I don't care to talk about in my personal space. You know what I'm saying? Or the space that I share on social media, because it's enough talked about. And so it's like, why, like, just beat down on a topic that's already negative,
oversaturated,
exactly, when I can just move forward and choose to put out the energy that I want.
Exactly. I feel like that's when people need to understand the fact of you cannot argue with people about their opinions. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. You are going to feel how you feel. Right. I don't, you know, as nice as I don't give a fuck how you feel. Right. If something triggers me and I feel some type of way, you feel me? That's what I'm gonna talk about, you know? And I don't want to hear, well, you should look at it like this. I look at it from out of my lens. You feel what I'm saying?
I want to ask you guys something, because I didn't know if I was supposed to take offense to this, but somebody that I also know personally DM'd me, and we did have good dialogue about the Bill Cosby thing. But one of the things that he said to me was, he said, I feel like you have a biased opinion because you're a victim.
Oh,
so this. Wait, I'm sorry.
Feels like you have a biased opinion.
He said that, and I was like, immediately I felt it in my spirit, because I was like, nigga, do you got me fucked up? Like, I'm trying to figure out if I'm supposed to figure out if you have me fucked up.
That shit don't even make sense. Like, honestly, how you gonna be biased and you've experienced something? That shit is that.
And I told him, I said, okay, so let's pretend that you were pulled over by the police, physically harassed, right? Mm-hmm. And then you were let go, and then your homie comes and tells you, like, bro, I just got harassed, like, they was pressing me, this and this and that, like, I don't know what to do. And then what are you going to do? You're going to agree with your homeboy because it did happen to you.
Right. That's not a bias. That's your fucking experience.
Your truth. Even
like,
that's your truth. Relatable. Sure. Yeah, because even before you brought up that, I saw both of your posts, and I don't necessarily. I have my views on Bill Cosby. I'm one of those like, yeah, not that he should get off, but I do have sentiments towards him and who he was to my childhood. But it's like, I can't sit up here and say that I think this should be a free man or we should leave him alone. And then as a black woman, understanding things or being an educator and seeing my kids go through that and say, but he should walk free. I can't, excuse bro for whatever that he did. That's his truth. What he did with the Cosby Show in a different world, that's also his truth. But you have to be punished for the negative things that you did.
Right.
And then also when people are speaking up about things, I didn't need to come in and be like, well, because I was like, he didn't do nothing for me. I don't need to go like, well, lie. Bill Cosby was the one that I was watching when I was 5 or 6. I didn't have to come do that because there was a lot of truth in what La was saying. It was a lot. But then at the end of the day, whether someone is a victim of something or not, at the end of the day, we as a black community hold sexual harassment and rape as such a taboo to the point where even if I'm a victim or not, you as a black man should understand the seriousness of that thing.
That's exactly what I told
because it's happening so much in our communities. And it's 8 in 10 of us, or 8 in 10 of the victims know the person that did it and are still walking around the people that did it.
And one of the things he also said was, he was like, well, and this is the, I feel like this is the male ego that comes in, because he feels like, I feel like a lot of the men that I'm seeing post about Bill Cosby, if they're like protecting something that feels
dear to them,
they're protecting something within themselves, right? Because they're being attacked or something. I
feel like they're protecting their own experience, like on the other side of things. That's exactly what I've been feeling from all these men who have something negative to say about women, like coming out and saying that it's not cool.
Some of them are just saying stupid stuff just to post, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, one of the things he said that was just so left to me was, well, one of the accusers still, stayed in a relationship with him after, she claimed that she was harassed. And I said, must I remind you that women who are physically abused and sexually abused stay in relationships because of fear? And I said, once you have a woman's mind, you have everything else. Right. Once you have a man's mind, you have everything else. So why is that? How is that even argumentative? Like,
I had said when I started my videos the other day, this was a topic that I did not, this has been something for years. Okay? This is not new. You know what I'm saying? And this is something that no one can say that they've heard me talk about, because I didn't want to talk about it because of my experience. You feel me? Because I felt like, hey, La, you do have a bias, bro. And that's because, like, you feel some type of way about that. You know what I'm saying? But I feel as if, like, I'm so tired. I'm tired of this society always wanting to shame the victims first. You feel me? It's like, why do we? I don't give a fuck if she took the drugs freely. Like, all that says is baby is a addict somewhere. You feel me? That does not mean that she consented to this man touching her. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, that's why. And people forget about the part where he admitted to that. You know what I'm saying? What if he's admitted to it? And these aren't like the old cases that he's gotten tried for. These are the ones that were within the statute of limitation. You know what I'm saying? Because all those women who came out about him or whatever, after all of those years, they knew that nothing could happen to him. At the end, they were sharing their stories. But then society found a way to shame them before listening. How many kids, how many of our relatives do we know that, like you said, are walking around with their abusers and stuff like that because you shame them to tell them that their story didn't matter?
And a part of me felt like I had to, before I even shared it, it was subconsciously, I was nervous to even speak about it. Because I was like, should I delete that post? Like, and I went through the same thing. Is this what I want to put out? Like, and then again, I put myself right in front of the mirror and I was like, no. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is something that has happened to you. you have an opinion. You're more than just always putting out positivity. Like, it's okay to say that these things are happening. And I wasn't talking about the case necessarily. The only fact that I did put out there about the case is that he admitted to drugging the women. Yeah. I'm talking about the culture around the subject of not wanting, you know what I'm saying, questioning a woman.
Right.
The questioning that you guys are doing and trying to use every other thing around her by saying, well, she stayed in the relationship. Does that mean
watering down her credibility?
Yeah. So it's like, bro, what if this was your daughter coming to you?
Right. And a lot of them don't understand that, because even with me, so I'm not a victim of it, but at some point in time, you have to realize. So there's even shows, because y'all heard about the Kanika Jenkins situation, right? Yeah. That happened over a year ago. And that shook me. So a lot of people were like, yo, you know, for your kids, like, how do you feel about it? And I'm like, it ain't even, she was 19. Like, it ain't even about my kids. It's about me. It's a plenty of times I've been in situations or in environments where I probably shouldn't have, or maybe was a little tipsy or buzzed, or maybe a little more drunk than I should have been. And by the grace of God, I made it home or made it somewhere safe without that happening, because it's a real thing that happens. And that kind of shook me. And when I tell you, like, and this is not the journal, but I have another one because it's when I started, that's just filled with numbers and different situations, different names of people that have not been put out there, but they've been through things. And then being an educator and having to sit in a meeting where we're talking about one of my students actively going through that, and her coming into the classroom every day, being regular, but she's going through that at home. So that was like, yo, regardless of what I've been through, regardless of what I have not been through, I have to understand that my sisters, the ones that look like me, the ones that I can relate to, have been through that. And then for those of us that are listening that are like, well, I can't relate or whatever, let's think about maybe even a time where you had sex and you didn't want to. And even though you may have consented to it.
So normalized.
Right. Yeah. But then how did you feel going home knowing that, okay, maybe you was like, okay, cool, but you really didn't want to have sex with you, but you did it. So imagine that happening where it was something that you just really didn't want to do.
Or the
That's
fact
hiding that feeling.
Or the fact that we have to sometimes drink or smoke to even put ourselves in the mood or put ourselves in the vibe. It's like, if that chemistry, and that's where that energy exchange comes from, if that chemistry isn't naturally there, if that person really just doesn't make you feel good on a spiritual or a soulful level, why do you have to get, why do you have to get low in order to really have fun or sleep with this person?
I even heard someone speak on just going to a man's house and just having the natural desire to want to, be in someone's space and kind of accommodate whatever they need and not interfere, and just be like, okay, I'm gonna go with the flow of what you want because I'm in your space.
I've been there.
And you just kind of, man, me too. And you just kind of like go with it because you don't want to make their space uncomfortable and uneasy, and then that's what they own.
Make their space uncomfortable. And then one thing that I always push is the number one reason for death in Black women is dying at the hand of a man. Because there are, whether it's you're in the club and the dude is drunk and he asked for your number and you gave him your fake number or whatever, and he tried to call or you didn't give him his number, so he gets upset. And I'm like, one thing, and I tell people all the time, like, and this is real, I don't even know if I said this on here, but I don't fuck with niggas when they drunk and horny. I don't fuck with niggas when they drunk. Or I'm like, yo, I have to remove myself because I've been in situations where it's like I can't push you off of me. Right. So I'm gonna just sit up here and I gotta take this at the end of the day. Okay, you gonna pound some shit for me to be able to live the next day? That's fine, because the numbers don't lie.
Right.
So at the end of the day, if you too drunk and your dick is hard right now and you can't control yourself, at the end of the day, a real thing is that I might not make it out of here. And people want to be like, oh, well, no, he has to be that kind of person. No, he does not, for that to be the number one reason for us dying over cancer.
Right.
You don't have to be that type of person. You just have to have that feeling in that moment. You exert a little too much strength in one moment, and I'm gone. So, yes, there are times where people and men have to understand, because a lot of men are like, I ain't never raped nobody. But have you constantly pushed yourself upon a woman and she was saying no, or she just allowed you to kind of do your thing and kind of just left? Because at the end of the day, that's a safer move than me sitting up here trying to wrestle with you and get you off of me.
And that's what I meant by, like, being unapologetic about your stories, bro. Because like I said, like, there are a lot of men talking about this, you know what I'm saying? And for whatever reasons that they're talking about it, they want to point the finger at us. You know what I'm saying? Well, what should you have done? No, what could you have done?
Right.
Why can't you make it the next man accountable?
Talk to your homies.
Why does it have to, why do I have to think about something when I feel like I'm in my natural state? You feel what I'm saying? Oh, you might have to change how you dress. You might have to change, like, nigga, if I want to turn up, that don't mean that I'm inviting you into my space.
Yeah, that's really what they think. Like, oh, she's getting drunk because she wants to do X, Y, and Z.
And that's why I'm like, these stories of ours, they need to be shared. You know what I'm saying? And yes, we do have to be accountable for ourselves. You know what I'm saying? But let's not act like two is not playing the part here. You know what I'm saying? It's just as much as people want to, like I said, victim shame. Like, all I was saying, make that man accountable for what he did. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, whether she said, hey, I don't want to, and there was something in her tone where he switched up on her, like, you know, because you could do that too. Make a woman feel ashamed for not wanting you. You know what I'm saying? For not wanting you, where she's in your space, and you're like, oh, that's not what you want to do? Oh, okay, it's whatever. But she really like you. You feel what I'm saying?
Think about how many young girls
are going through that.
Young girls, you know what I'm saying? Where the boys who are in their same age group don't even realize that they're pressuring the girl because that's what they've been taught, to be macho, to be cool,
and that's what's supposed to
get
happen.
it. Yeah,
that's the natural thing to do. Yeah.
So think about how many young girls are putting themselves in sexual situations that are way too early, because they feel that pressure. You know what I'm saying? They feel that pressure to please the guy. You know what I'm saying? And really just be in his space. And it's like some of them don't even have the language to say, like, this is uncomfortable or I'm not feeling it right now. Because I can look back as a teenager and say, okay, I should have called it a night then. You know what I mean?
Even just as we're growing and realizing our wrongs or our immaturities and our spiritual growth and our natural growth, I think we can all attest to, like, even as being grown, where there was something where it was just like, okay, I shouldn't have done that. Because I was telling them before, where it was just like, I had to do a cleanse where it was 4 months, no alcohol, no sex, and no meat. And I just did that because I needed to clear my space. I needed to make sure I wasn't attracting the wrong things. And I didn't like what was coming into my face all the time. And it was the same constant thing. So I'm like, sometimes there are things that are very close, and it's just like, we have to understand, like, that was, like you said, that was something that should have been different. We shouldn't have did that. But then also what I need, and this is something, it's reaching a year since I've been talking about it, because last year I was like, holiday season is coming up. We need to start talking about this instead of asking, oh, you got a boyfriend, or asking about stuff we don't want to talk about. We need to talk about it because it's something that's happening in our homes. Our uncles, fathers, grandfathers are still doing inappropriate acts with these young girls, with even girls, women. Like, and it's not okay. And I'm like, it's something where we need to talk about it, where the community needs to talk about it, and the responses that y'all have said that y'all get mean that you guys, these men, and even some women, don't understand that it's happening at a high rate. And every time I say the number one rate of death for black women is being killed at the hand of a man, people are like, wait, what, for real? And I'm like, it's factual. Go look it up. Like, it's a fact. And when I started looking it up almost 3 years ago, it was number 2. It was number 2 under cancer. Now it's number 1. So that means it's been happening more progressively.
It has. See, and the thing is, we need to, like, if let's just take Bill Cosby out of the situation.
Right.
And when we're discussing the culture of making memes, making jokes, also holding him on the pedestal that he was on as an actor. Like, I understand the accolades that this man has made. I also understand that black men are lynched through media.
Right.
I understand that. But let's talk about the culture. Let's talk about why is it that we are not talking about our little sisters, our cousins, you know, even our male friends being molested or being raped. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, what is it? And one of the things I had to tell my guy friend in the conversation was, I said, bro, do you also recognize that what the acts of what he was doing back then were in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s and so forth, right? Right now in hip hop culture, like Rick Ross said it, like, there was a line where he said he popped something in her drink and she didn't even know it. Like,
and somebody posted, she's a Problem. Because Problem is from LA, and somebody that I follow posted about him and was just like, yo, if Bill Cosby is getting caught, like, yo, Problem, you about to be next. And I'm like, why is this a constant thing that y'all think is okay, but then when it comes to your daughters and if somebody touch your daughter, I'm going in?
Because they don't see, that's the thing, like when you're an adult woman, when you're an adult woman, or if you're a teenager that's developed, right? It's like you're not thought of as a child anymore. Yeah. So the respect level is different. The respect level is different. So it's like a little girl, man, that's a little girl. How you going this and this and that? But let's say a 16-year-old girl who does have a grown woman's body. Right. You know what I'm saying? And I say that very loosely. A grown woman's body. It's like, oh man, she fast anyway. Right. You know, or she out here anyway.
That's what she asking for.
Yeah, she. But are you not realizing, just as you guys said that you guys work with kids, I worked with kids at one point, and there was a 5th grader in my class, really, really bright student, but she was developed more than the other 5th grader. She was taller, but her actions and her behaviors said something was going on in that home because she knew certain things and did certain things, and I'm like, she shouldn't know that. You know what I'm saying? Or she shouldn't be doing that. And I had to have a talk with the parent, like, you know, spend some time with her. Get to know her, talk to her. And I didn't want to say what I thought was going on because it wasn't my place. But it's just like, you know, there's some behaviors there. Right. And then when by the time she gets to high school, it's like, oh, she fast. You know, she this. But something had to have happened to her. Like, we have to pay attention to those kids, those girls, and the boys. We don't talk about the boys.
Adult men. I had an experience just recently at a high school, and I was speaking to an adult who was working at the high school, and you know, for no particular reason, he mentioned these girls look old. These girls look, you know, they look like they built. You know, they look older than what they used to look like when we was in school. And it struck me, like, the fact that you see them that way and you work here, you know, it's really telling of where your mindset is while you're on this campus.
And definitely a tough thing, especially, like, seeing how over-sexualized we are, our young girls are, and then also being a black woman that is over-sexualized. And I'm like, why? And I don't even dress provocatively, and not even that it has to be labeled provocatively, but I don't even show a lot when I'm dressed. It's like, okay, I might show a little leg or nothing, but I'm like, my dad had me so scared to wear like low-cut shirts to the point where now I'm like just now getting out of that mindset, like, okay, he's not going to trip on me if I go out with a low-cut, like, and that's a real thing. But I'm like, it was just, for me, knowing how that feels, knowing that I had to get myself out of this because, you know, I don't want to put black men in a stigma where it's like, oh, you just can't talk to them and this is that and the other. But then I still get those feelings. If I'm walking and I feel like I have something on that's maybe a little revealing, I don't want to walk through a group of black men or men in general, because that's men just what, and I'm saying, I'm saying black men because that's what I'm constantly in connect with. Even if it's a family member, I'm just like, I don't want to, because I don't want that attention. I just don't want it. And it feels so like, it feels just crazy. It's a real feeling, and I'm just like, I don't want it
all the time. Like, even as a fully grown ass woman, you know, I'm at family members' houses, and you know, I went to go visit my dad recently, and there were relatives I haven't seen since I was a kid. You know, and it was just, I'm very cautious of how I move.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm very cautious of how I move because it's like, yeah, I haven't seen you since I was a kid, but I'm a grown woman now. I don't know where your head is at.
And they take that shit so seriously. They like, oh, you are a grown woman now. Like, and the looks become different. Everything like that.
Right. And it's like I'm no longer relative to you now. Right. I'm now in the same element. And I'm like, don't comment on me. Yeah. Like, don't. And then even I had an uncle, and he would often, like, his hugs were like, okay, in that kind of gray area where it's like your hands probably shouldn't be here, like on your back kind of. And I'm just like, I remember being at the house, and he was coming, at my grandmother's house, and he was coming into the house, and my god cousin, it was just us two there. My god cousin was there, and I guess he was waiting for my grandma to come back. And we were waiting on her to come back so we can leave. So he's knocking on the door, and I'm like, yo, I'm not opening this door. And my guy cousin said the same thing. But he was about to leave. He was like, I'm going to wait till he leaves or whatever. And I think he was saying it because he just didn't want to talk to him. Right. But I'm sitting there like, I'm not about to be found in this house by myself with you in here. I don't care who you kin to. I don't care what blood you have. But that's a real feeling that I had when he came around. Even if it was at the church, it was always like, oh, you look so good, you grown and all that. Like, I don't need that. And I don't need to have in my head a feeling of you touching a gray area.
And that's the thing, like, we talk about the girls so much. Like, let's talk to the little boys that we're raising. You know, stop making them grown men and they're like 2 years old. You know, like, oh, you gonna be this, you gonna be that. Like, no, make him a lover. You know, make him a God-fearing kid. Make him play outside. Make him do kid things. He doesn't have to be 30 years old and he's like 10. You know what I'm saying? Like, just like we tell little girls, like, oh, you know, you need to be modest and you need to this, that, and the third. But then it's like when it comes to the little boys, like, we want to put chains on them and we want to make them do this and make them do that. And it's like, bro, these are kids at the end of the day. And it's like, if we instill in our boys early enough to say, it's okay to be tapped into your emotions. It's okay to tell me what's going on. It's okay to tell me when you're hurt. You know, maybe we can change the communication dynamic with
it needs to be shifted.
With the teenagers, with adults. Like, we're not remembering that they are going to become adults. You know, and I think that us having conversations about men inflicting things, women, it goes the same way too.
Exactly. It's just, we need to protect what's ours. You know what I'm saying? That's what it boils down to. We need to protect what's ours, and we need to start reshaping. You know what I mean? Because we have all of these old ideals, you know what I'm saying, when in this world of millennials now, and it's like the things that worked back then don't work now. You know what I'm saying? People's perspectives have widened. You know what I'm saying? Now it's all types of gender, you know, qualifications and all of you. We have to be mindful, you know, and we have to reshape to not only protect but allow them to be aware of what's going on out here. You know what I'm saying? Because some of these kids are just walking outside with like blinders on, you know, and they don't know what's going on. So I'm like, if we want to solve, you know, these issues, we have to talk about these issues.
I was gonna say part of the protection is really just, again, be real. Not just with the kids, but like with the teenagers, with yourself. Like, with really women, talk about the shit. Say, look, this is what's going on. You know, my mom and my dad, like, they didn't have any issues being very cutthroat with a lot of things, with death, with, you know, being cautious of my environment and stuff like that. So when things did happen, I was like, oh, I need to speak up about this. Or I don't feel comfortable about, or, ooh, it looks like shit's about to pop off. I need to get out this party. You know what I'm saying? Like, my parents didn't have any issue saying, look, this is what could happen. This is what's out here. We're not going to be here forever. So it's like those issues weren't taboo. And I wasn't afraid to say how I felt. And, you know, when certain things did transpire in my life, it was like, Mom, you know, this happened. I think it's wrong. You know, and then they took the necessary steps.
Exactly. And that's the thing. We're not opening up those conversations, you know, and you have to be also aware of what's coming out of your mouth around people, you know what I'm saying, around your kids and stuff like that, because our beliefs and stuff, our kids, they listen to what we're talking about. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I talk to these kids every day and I'm like, you're like, you heard that? Right. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, they listen to what we're talking about. And because you could have someone who's defending, you know, someone who's done wrong and they've gone through this experience, and it's like, oh, well, I can't talk to them about that because they just let me know that they weren't open to that conversation. Right. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you have to be aware of what you're speaking into the world. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and it's like, we got to talk, but be aware of what you're saying and what message you're sending off. Are you opening the space for them to feel comfortable to come to tell you when something is going wrong?
Yeah, they might be scared because they don't know what the hell just happened.
Yeah, that's very true. But this was a really dope conversation. We gotta do this again. Right. Soon, yeah, absolutely. Make it a more regular thing for sure. But y'all, any last things? Drop your Instagram handles and stuff.
You guys can follow me as something about MJ, something without a G. You guys can also follow Push Experience LA. We do have another event coming up. I'm going to do one more lockout for Halloween. A lot of people have been pressing me about it. So, okay, it's going to happen. So, yeah, I'm supposed to be partnering with DJ WizKid. So we're going to bring you guys a dope vibe to close out the year. Okay. And, yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be litty.
Setting trends.
Right. I hope so.
Sure.
Right. I love it. I see, MJ, how your work is, you know, like affecting others and even inspiring others, you know. Well, my social handles, you know, is LASPEAKSVOLUMES. Like I said, I am writing, you know, I'm tapping back into my artistry. I will be bringing you guys the Lauryn Hill Miseducation.
Okay.
So be looking out for that. And be looking out for that. And my last words are be intentional, you know, give love how you want to receive it. Right. You know, right. That's all I got to say.
My name is POOHLAH. My Instagram is POOHLAAH. I am a painter, visual artist. Please check out my latest paintings. I will be doing more paintings, you know, a lot more. And I'm open for commissions. If you have something in mind you want painted, just hit me up and let me know. I'm grateful that we all got a chance to sit down and have a conversation. Yes, I've been excited about it since we planned it. Yes, you know, I'm happy to be on a platform with every one of y'all live, MJ Jazz. So y'all have a good day.
Yep. Well, yeah. So that's about it. But I mean, the takeaway, I guess you can go with what La said, is just to be intentional. Be intentional about your space. Be intentional about who you want around you, how you deal with certain things. This is a super dope conversation. So we're going to push this. I know we started an hour earlier than normal, but make sure you go back and listen to it and push it, because this is a conversation that needs to happen. Y'all know when it comes to some of these issues, that's something that I've been talking about because it affects us. So thank each and every one of you guys for coming. Let's get this going. Just try to figure out sometime I can get y'all down here and just having conversation. I think these conversations, or y'all coming, is one of the most important things because we're a part of a certain community. And I think if it's coming from us, and when I'm doing these shows, it's more not beneficial, but it means more to me that we're able to have these conversations and start holding people that we have reached to accountable. So it's getting your brand up, yours up. Y'all coming on is lifting the show up. So just working, and it's all Black women. So we are pushing each other. We are, even when we don't speak to each other or see each other, we see each other on Instagram. We see the work that MJ is doing, La is doing, POOHLAH is doing. So we out here working. So make sure you tune in next weekend and to the other shows that the Good News has throughout the week.
And tonight, Astrid,
yes.
talk that shit.
Yes.
You guys, it's
yes.
going
yes.
to be popping. So please,
so
she got tacos.
Yeah.
You know, she gonna
and
have
some heavy hitters.
Heavy hitting performers.
Tacos, free show, and it's
so
free parking.
y'all come out.
Yeah.
The flyer is on my page.
Yeah. So make sure y'all. We'll post it too, but make sure y'all come out to that. But then, thank you guys again for coming early. I really appreciate it. But that's pretty much it. I'll catch you guys next Saturday. It should be at 10. If we have games, it probably will be earlier. But I'm always going to get the content to you. So have a great weekend, and I'll hear from you guys next week.
Bye.